the food you've been spooning mindlessly, maybe as a snack, maybe as breakfast. But here's the shocking truth. This humble bowl of yogurt has the power to fight arthritis and beat it at its own game. Now listen carefully. Arthritis is not just about your joints itching. It's not just about waking up stiff, struggling to move, or feeling older than you are. No, arthritis is inflammation out of control. It's your body's fire burning against you. And here's the secret: yogurt is not just food. It is fuel for your body's hidden army. Inside your gut live trillions of microscopic soldiers. They decide whether your body lives in pain or in power. And when you eat the right kind of yogurt, rich with living cultures, you are sending reinforcements straight into battle. These cultures don't just sit there, they rebuild your defenses, cool the fires of inflammation, and literally rewire your immune system so it stops attacking your own joints. Think about that. While most people run to medicine for relief, nature had the answer sitting in a bowl all along. Yogurt is not a dessert. It's a weapon. It's living medicine that teaches your body how to heal. But here's the catch: not all yogurts are created equal. The sugary junk at the supermarket, forget it. That's poison disguised as food. What you need is real yogurt. Thick, plain, packed with probiotics, with no lies on the label. That's the kind that unleashes healing in your bloodstream, that lowers inflammation markers, that silences the pain gnawing at your joints. Imagine this. Every spoonful, instead of feeding your arthritis, is destroying it. Every bite is rebuilding cartilage, restoring mobility, giving you back the freedom to move, run, dance, live without chains. So ask yourself, how many years have you lost to pain? How many mornings have you woken up afraid to move, afraid to live fully? That ends now. Because the answer is not locked inside a laboratory. It's not hidden in some secret clinic. It's been sitting on your table all along. This is not about yogurt. This is about reclaiming your power. This is about saying no more to the pain that has stolen your energy, your confidence, your life. And when you take action, when you pick up that spoon with intention, you are not just eating, you are healing. So the next time you hold that cup of yogurt in your hands, don't see it as food. See it as a declaration: I will not be broken by arthritis. I will fight, I will heal, and I will win perfect. Let's take K.1T. Arthritis is not just about your joints aching, it's inflammation out of control, and expanded into a 750-word flowing lecture-style segment with the intellectual depth and motivational weight you're asking for. Here's the expansion, written as if spoken directly to your YouTube audience. Most people think of arthritis as a simple problem of aging, as if the body just wears down over time like an old machine. You hear it in the language people use: my joints are rusty, or it's just part of getting old. And when we hear that story enough, we start to accept it as inevitable, like the slow erosion of stone underwater. But the truth is, that's a dangerous illusion. Arthritis is not just about time. It's not about wear and tear in the mechanical sense. It's something far more complex, far more fascinating, and far more within our control than we've been led to believe. At its core, arthritis is inflammation that has gone out of balance. Think about fire. In the right place, fire sustains life. It cooks our food, keeps us warm, lights our homes. But when fire spreads without control, it consumes everything. It turns life into ashes. Inflammation is the same. It's the body's fire designed to protect you. When you cut yourself, when you fight off an infection, your immune system ignites inflammation as a shield. It's good. That's necessary. But when the fire refuses to die down, when it begins to smolder endlessly in your joints, in your tissues, in your blood, that's when protection turns into destruction. And that's what arthritis is: the body's own defenses turned against itself. Now here's where it gets interesting. If arthritis is really about inflammation, then the real battlefield isn't your knees or your hands or your back. The real battlefield is your immune system, your metabolism, your inner environment. It's happening at the microscopic level, inside your blood, inside your gut, inside the very dialogue between the cells that are supposed to be keeping you alive. When you feel stiffness, when you feel pain, when you notice that your range of motion is shrinking, that's the external expression of an internal war. Why does this matter? Because if you only see arthritis as mechanical damage, you'll think the solution is mechanical too. Replacement surgeries, painkillers, injections. And while those might provide temporary relief, they don't touch the fire at its source. They treat the symptom, not the cause. But if you understand arthritis as inflammation out of control, suddenly the horizon opens. Because inflammation can be influenced. It can be reduced, calmed, brought back into balance. And that means arthritis is not just something you suffer through. It's something you can fight back against. This is where food comes into the picture. Every bite you take is either adding fuel to that fire or helping to put it out. And this is what shocks people, because we've been taught to think of food as calories, as fuel, as taste. We rarely think of it as information. Yet that's exactly what it is. Information that tells your body how to function. Food talks to your genes, it shapes your microbiome, it dictates how much or how little inflammation flows through your blood. And that means your daily choices, the yogurt you eat, the vegetables you put on your plate, the sugar you avoid, all of it is shaping whether arthritis consumes you or loosens its grip. But here's the deeper philosophical point. Arthritis is not just a physical problem, it becomes a psychological one too. Chronic pain narrows your vision. It makes the world feel smaller, like you're living inside a cage made of your own body. It steals not only your mobility, but also your hope. And that's why redefining arthritis matters so much. Because when you realize this is not just an inevitable decay, but a dynamic process influenced by your choices, you move from being a passive victim of biology to being an active participant in your own healing. That shift in perspective is the beginning of freedom. You see, the human spirit is built to endure, but it's also built to adapt, to grow, to fight back. And when you start to see arthritis not as a death sentence, but as a challenge, something that can be influenced by the way you live, then you reclaim agency, you reclaim dignity. You are no longer someone who says, well, that's just how it is. You become someone who says, what can I do today to bring that fire under control? What can I do today to heal? And maybe that begins with something as small, as humble, as a spoonful of yogurt. That might sound ridiculous at first, but once you understand that what you eat is shaping the battlefield inside you, then you see that something so ordinary can be extraordinary in its impact. You don't have to start with a miracle. You start with a choice. You start with the next meal, the next habit, the next decision that signals to your body, I am not giving up. I am not surrendering this fight. Because in the end, arthritis is not just about your joints. It's about your relationship with yourself. It's about whether you let pain dictate your life or whether you rise above it and decide that you are stronger than the fire burning inside you. That choice, though simple, may be the most profound medicine of all. So when you hear the word arthritis, don't think of broken joints. Think of a fire. And then remember, fires can be extinguished. That's the 750 word expansion of key point 1 written in the authoritative lecture style tone you wanted with a motivational closing line. When we speak about arthritis, or any disease for that matter, we tend to imagine the battle happening only where we feel the pain. If it's your knee, you picture the joint grinding. If it's your hand, you imagine the cartilage thinning out. But the truth is, the battle doesn't begin there. It begins in a place most people never think about. Your gut. Inside your digestive system lives a civilization so vast it makes human cities look insignificant. Trillions of bacteria, fungi, and other microbes call your gut their home. This community is known as the microbiome, and though it is invisible to the naked eye, its influence reaches every corner of your body. Think about that for a moment. These microscopic organisms are not passive passengers. They are active participants in your health, shaping the way your immune system behaves, influencing your metabolism, even altering the way your brain perceives pain. Now, here's the shocking part. These microbes have a say in whether arthritis flares up or calms down. If your microbiome is balanced and diverse, it trains your immune system to respond with precision, to attack real threats while leaving your own tissues alone. But if it's disrupted by processed foods, by sugar, by chemicals, by chronic stress, then the system goes haywire. Your immune defenses become confused, hyperactive, like an army that has lost its commander, firing blindly at everything in sight. That is what fuels the relentless inflammation that drives arthritis. And this is where yogurt enters the story in a way that most people would never expect. Yogurt is not just a source of calcium or protein. That's the shallow understanding. Yogurt is alive. It carries cultures of beneficial bacteria that, when introduced into your gut, can change the very composition of your inner civilization. These probiotics don't just arrive and vanish, they interact, they communicate, they shift the balance of power. In simple terms, yogurt brings reinforcements to your microscopic army. It tells the good bacteria, you are not alone. We are strengthening you. And as that balance tips back toward harmony, inflammation begins to subside. Think of it this way: if arthritis is a fire, then the microbiome is the wind. It can either fan the flames or calm them down. And yogurt, when chosen carefully, acts like a subtle hand redirecting that wind in your favor. Every spoonful is a message delivered to trillions of microbes: bring balance, bring peace, bring order back into the system. But let's not reduce this to biology alone. There's a philosophical lesson here too. Your gut represents the unseen forces that shape your destiny. Just as your thoughts create your mindset and your mindset creates your life, the invisible organisms within you shape your physical reality. It's humbling to realize that we are not the sole rulers of our own bodies. We are ecosystems, symphonies of cooperation between human cells and microbial life. When we nourish that cooperation, we thrive. When we neglect it, we fall into disorder and pain. This is why what you consume matters so deeply. It's not just about avoiding discomfort today. It's about choosing which voices you allow to speak inside your body tomorrow. If you choose processed food, you empower microbes that thrive on chaos and destruction. If you choose yogurt with living cultures, you empower microbes that thrive on harmony and healing. And that choice, though small in the moment, ripples across your entire life. Consider what that means for someone living with arthritis. Each day, you face the choice between feeding the fire or feeding the balance. Too often, people resign themselves to the idea that pain is inevitable, that nothing can be done. But that resignation itself is destructive. Because in reality, something as simple as changing what you put into your gut can begin to reshape your entire experience of pain. That's not wishful thinking. That's biology. And this brings us to a deeper reflection. If yogurt, something so ordinary, can alter the course of a disease as complex as arthritis, what else are we underestimating in our lives? How often do we dismiss the small, simple things as irrelevant while waiting for some dramatic external rescue? The truth is, healing, whether physical or psychological, rarely arrives as a lightning bolt. It begins with subtle shifts repeated consistently until they accumulate into transformation. So, as you hear this, don't think only of yogurt. Think of the principle it represents. The small, intentional actions you take daily, consistently, can redirect the entire trajectory of your life. The gut responds to your choices. The body responds to your choices. Your life responds to your choices. The question is, which direction will you choose? Because the reality is simple. Inside you right now lives an army. It is either working for you or against you. And with every decision you make, every bite you take, you are the commander giving orders. If arthritis has been winning the battle, maybe it's because you've been unknowingly empowering the wrong soldiers. But starting today, you can turn the tide. So the next time you hold that spoonful of yogurt in your hand, don't underestimate it. See it for what it truly is, not just food, but a signal, a strategy, a shift in the balance of power inside you. You are not powerless in the face of arthritis. You are the one holding the reins. And the moment you take that truth seriously, you begin to win. Most people underestimate how much of their fate is determined not by dramatic choices, but by the quiet, Repetitive decisions they make every single day. What you put into your body is one of those decisions. It seems small, almost trivial, and that's precisely why people dismiss it. But it's in those ordinary acts, the food on your plate, the liquid in your glass, the spoonfuls you lift to your mouth, that the future of your health is being written. When you eat the right kind of yogurt, one that is truly alive with cultures, you are not just consuming calories or filling a craving. You are enlisting an army. These probiotics are not passive, they are living reinforcements entering the battlefield of your body. They don't simply pass through you like lifeless nutrients. They interact, they establish themselves, they communicate with your cells, and they alter the very chemistry of your immune system. Imagine them as soldiers parachuting into hostile territory, joining the fight on your behalf, correcting what has gone wrong, and restoring order where there was chaos. This is why the type of yogurt matters so much. Not all yogurt is created equal. The brightly colored cups stacked in supermarket aisles, loaded with sugar and artificial flavorings, are not the soldiers you need. Those are imposters. They distract, they entertain your taste buds, but they do not heal. Healing requires authenticity. It requires yogurt that is plain, unsweetened, full of active cultures. Simple, but powerful. That's the kind of food that can tilt the balance in your body from disease toward health, from pain toward relief. But let's go deeper. When you choose real yogurt, you are doing more than just feeding your gut. You are engaging in an act of alignment between your biology and your will. You are choosing to support the processes inside you that are designed to protect you, but that have been weakened or misdirected by years of neglect, by the modern diet, by stress, by the constant flood of toxins that we invite in without thinking. Yogurt becomes a symbolic act. It says, I am on my own side again. It's small, but it's decisive, and that is not trivial. That is profound. Think about how often people look for dramatic solutions. They want the surgery, the miracle drug, the instant fix. They want to be rescued without effort. But true healing rarely works that way. More often, it begins with a change in orientation. It begins with the humility to recognize that the answers are not always in the extraordinary, but in the ordinary. And yogurt, plain, alive, unpretentious, represents that truth perfectly. You don't need to wait for some breakthrough technology in a distant future. Reinforcements already exist, waiting in a simple food you've ignored all along. Now imagine this scenario. Every morning, you reach for a cup of living yogurt. Every day, you add to the army inside you. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, your immune system recalibrates. Inflammation begins to ease. The stiffness that once chained your movements softens. The pain that once dominated your mornings begins to loosen its grip. You find yourself walking more freely, standing taller, regaining the dignity that arthritis tried to steal from you. And it all began not with a revolution outside, but with a quiet revolution inside. A spoon, a bite, a choice repeated again and again. The psychological dimension here is just as important. When you make this choice consistently, you train not only your gut, but also your mind. You are proving to yourself that you are not powerless, that you are capable of influencing the course of your own life. That's no small thing. People suffering with chronic illness often fall into despair because they feel their bodies have betrayed them. They begin to see themselves as victims of fate. But every act of alignment, every time you pick up the spoon and say, I am feeding my body the reinforcements it needs, you remind yourself that you are not merely a victim. You are a participant. You are an agent in your own healing. And what's more, this act compounds. It's not just about yogurt. Once you realize that small, intentional choices matter, you begin to see the same principle everywhere. You see it in the way you move, the way you breathe, the way you sleep, the way you think. You begin to recognize that life itself is a battle of reinforcements. Are you strengthening the forces of health, or are you strengthening the forces of destruction? That awareness alone can change the entire trajectory of a person's existence. So, when you hear the idea that yogurt can beat arthritis, don't dismiss it as hype. See it for what it really is, a profound symbol of how life changes. Reinforcements don't always arrive as armies marching in the streets. Sometimes they arrive quietly in a spoonful of living food. And if you're wise enough to recognize the power of that, you'll understand that healing is not only possible, it's already within reach.